So another thing is that many people say, why Krishna didn't marry Radha and there was no person. No, listen to me, hear me out. And there is no Radha. The Puranas don't mention Radha. What they have to realize is, from my limited understanding of having read the Puranas and the holy books, that Radha and Krishna are essentially the same person. Krishna is Radha and Radha is Krishna. Radha is basically the feminine side of Krishna. Right? So what? He was ahead of his times. He believed in women's lib those days. So it's beautiful because Radha says, why don't you marry me? So Krishna turns around and says, wait. And then he turns around again. Radha sees Krishna is Radha. So he said, how can I marry myself? You are me. You are part of me. So even if there was no Radha, Radha was Krishna and Krishna was Radha. So unless you read, it's all there in our holy books. You just have to. So I wouldn't have normally read it, but because I had to work on this project, I had to read those things, and I'm glad this happened, so I could have an opportunity to do my research and read our ancient scriptures.
This is Future Sound Media with Rahi, the OG of all podcasts in the house. Available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. All socials at the rate of Future Sound Media. All episodes are available on futuresoundmedia.com. Let's begin.
And we do have in the studio Swayam Ganguly, who is an author, media professional, and a director. So we will talk a lot about his work and a lot of stuff that he has done, and also as we do in our show with everyone who comes, we will ask him some questions about his journey. We'll get to know the person. And apart from that, Swayam has been a bit close to me in the past couple of years. I know him a bit closely, not that much, but still. So hi Swayam, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Rahi?
I'm super. So welcome to the show. Welcome to Future Sound of Bengal. And if you guys can see on my right side, just to kind of set the tone of the show, if you see, there are two books we have. We have
the first and the last.
So first and the last. So we have Love, Films and Rock and Roll, and we have 365 Krishna Stories. So we will get into those things. We will get into the books itself and a lot of other things. But before that, I do want to kind of ask Swayam that you wear a lot of caps. You wear a lot of caps. You kind of are a very interesting individual. So let me ask you, how did before kind of getting into the details of your different what should I say, ventures that you do or you have done, how did your creative journey begin? Let me kind of ask you that. So if you can just kind of tell me about your start.
See, basically the creative journey began right since childhood or school days,
Okay.
So we used to I used to put up school plays and which I used to script and direct and so that's how it began. So the creative bug or Kida per se was always there. And after working for many years on television, I felt that I was being typecast. I was only able to do a certain kind of thing. So 2 years now I've been doing my own thing. I've been exploring a lot of things. I quit my corporate job, which I felt was not getting me to do the things that I wanted to do.
Okay.
So I wanted to explore the different avenues that were there before me, and I decided to take the plunge and do my own thing, and touch wood, it's going well.
Okay. Let me kind of try to get into the beginnings a bit. Okay, like when did you start? So if we say about let's kind of talk about the part of you which is a director. You guys who are kind of watching the show, some of you guys might know it, and for those who doesn't know that, Swayam was the director of the very iconic Bande Mataram, which was kind of aired on one of our regional channels, which gave eons of bands the kind of an opportunity to kind of launch themselves and kind of change the scene of the Bengali band music culture itself. So in that way, Shwamda has a huge hand in kind of letting that happen. So if I ask you that person of yours, okay, kaise, how did you kind of when you had started from there, how did this happen when you were like till you're being a director of such a big show like that? What was the journey like?
See, basically, Bande Matram 1, I was executive producer. And
Okay.
Bande Matram 2 and Levi's Bande Matram 3, that was the branding. That was directed by me.
Okay.
So I directed 2 and 3, Bande Matram 2 and 3. And it was the basic objective of the show was to drive the rock scene in Bengal. That's what me and my team and the channel wanted to do. So because a lot of unexplored sounds, musical genres were already existent, and a lot of talent was already there in Bengal, which you were also a part of. So what Bande Matram did was nothing great. The talent was already there.
Right.
Bande Matram just provided them a platform for them to showcase that particular talent. And working with that kind of event, it never felt like work. It was like a carnival, interacting with so many bands, and most of them are so big now. So experiencing that kind of culture and movement, so it really feels special. And normally I don't like to talk about the fact that I directed Bande Matram, because the whole objective of the show or Bande Matram was to promote new talent and not to, so I like to stay behind the scenes and not talk about that too much.
Okay. But the whole point of this show is actually to kind of, as I was saying, to do a bit of post-mortem of the folks who are kind of very successful in what they do and very creative and kind of understanding their journey and, kind of sharing that. That's the reason we kind of, ask these.
So like Freddie Mercury famously sung, the show must go on. So one has to keep in mind that there's nothing bigger than the show. And the show is always more important than the individual, and the music is always greater than the musician.
Absolutely. Now, now that you mention of music, I do have some information that before coming into all these things, all these hats, आपका म्यूजिक का कीड़ा तो था, तो
म्यूजिक का कीड़ा अभी भी है.
अच्छा.
The fact was that when early years in Bangalore, I think it was 98, 99. So we had a band and we wanted to like make music, But then how it is, like Bong family and all, ki music karke kya karega, ki hobby, there's no future. So, we had to abandon our plans, but we did record. In fact, the great musician Amit Heri, he recorded our first song. This was during the nuclear blasts in Rajasthan, Pokhran. So the song was called Pokhran. It was a Hindi heavy metal song.
Okay.
So then I was very unhappy because I wanted to do something in music, and then unfortunately God did not have that set aside for me. But I always wanted to test people. Am I really good? Was I really, if I had taken the path towards music, would I have done justice to it? So that was always in my mind. So when I was in Bombay, working in Bombay, I happened to meet the famous Apache Indian, whom I'm a big fan of till date. So I grew up listening to those people. So I asked him, I said, "Hi Steven," because his real name is Steven Kapoor. So he said, "You know my name, how?" I said, "Listen, I'm a huge fan and I've been following your music." I mean, I was a fan then.
Okay.
So when I was growing up. So he was amazed and he said, "You know my name, have you heard my songs?" I said, "I've heard all your songs and I sing your songs sometimes in the bathroom." So he said, "Which one? Sing it to me." So without thinking, I probably, if someone did that to me now, I wouldn't have done it. But then I was like, what? I was 23, 24. So I just, like we do in our Kolkata Addas, I just impromptu started off. "Well, the time has come for me, Apache, to find one girl and to get marry me one girl. From Jalandhar city, me one girl, se sorni lagti." And he was like blown. He said, "Man, you're good." I mean, I'm probably doing this now, and time has passed, a lot of water has flowed under the bridge, so I'm probably not as good now. But that time I think I was better. So he pulled me to one corner and said, "Dude, you're so good." I said, no, I'm just So the objective of that was not to impress Apache Indian.
Hmm.
The objective was to see if I was good enough. So what better, stamp than the man himself. And a similar incident happened with Kailash Kher when I sang a song about Shiva. And he really liked it. So, whenever I meet some musicians, I'm more of a Kansen than a Tansen. I have a good ear for music. So I like to interact with musicians. And I was so sad then, because I couldn't. So I stopped listening to music entirely.
Okay.
Then I realized the sound of the fan, the sound of gushing water, traffic noises, everything is music. Music is what drives us.
Okay.
Right? So music is the soul. Everything else is the body. Everything is musically connected.
Okay.
So music is there. And everybody is music.
A super insight here. So in that case, what happened? Like, why didn't why I'm not kind of seeing Swayam Ganguly as a musician right now? We are getting the director, the author. Music कहाँ पे चला गया?
So that's what I'm saying. I mean, I'm like, West Indies, man. I'm waiting for Columbus to sail this way and discover the musical part of me. So what happens is that, since you put this question, a lot of people, I've seen lots of people, really talented musicians, who've had to abandon music and enter corporate jobs to support
Right.
and feed their families,
Right.
It's not easy.
Right.
It's not easy being a musician. So I got nipped in the bud, which is still okay. I would have probably died if I, became a musician and then I had to quit and do something else. So that a ways. And you can't really blame them because, most of them do not, have a solid economic background. So they have to work for a living because music sometimes doesn't feed you unless you're lucky and talented or both. Right?
Okay.
So a lot of people have chosen an alternate career option. So
I'll just kind of take it off from there and ask you about this. So Love Films, Rock and Roll, guys. This is the book, I think. This was, if I'm
2013. I think.
2013. Let me kind of check here before 2013. I remember I got the copy. So let me kind of just read a bit what the kind of back cover says. It says that fate throws three young men traveling on a train from Jamshedpur to Kolkata. Sunil is a graduate from FTI who wants to make a mark in Tollywood by directing his first feature film. Samir Aka Sam is a software professional working in Silicon Valley. Dipankar Aka Dipsy decides to focus on music after being expelled from IIT on a false charge of peddling drugs. Dilemmas, delusionments, and desires blend to tell their tales in this delightful novel, which, although reflective of the carefree ways and the fun-loving spirit of the younger generation, also attempts to encourage them to incorporate this sense of values which are synonymous with our Indian culture, and they bind one and all through love, films, and rock and roll. This sounds like Swayam. This sounds like it's something. Is this autobiographical? Is this what is this? How much is this autobiographical? Is this semi-autobiographical? What is?
See, I wouldn't say it's autobiographical. Semi-autobiographical.
Okay.
Partially, yes, but I've never been to the Silicon Valley. I've never been to the US, so it's not in the sense that it. Explores what we want to do and what we end up becoming, like I said earlier, right? So this guy wants to be a filmmaker, one of the protagonists, and he, does, a course from FTI. I've never been to FTI, so it can't be autobiographical either.
Okay.
But it is in a sense, yeah. So these are essentially, this is a book written for the youth, right? And the problem is that music is an essential part of it, of course. So there are parts of it which might be semi-autobiographical, but it's mostly fiction.
So how did this happen? How did this book happen? As in, when did you kind of... let me ask you, what were you doing during 2013?
See, I was basically... I had joined this television channel. So unfortunately, because of the recession or something, that channel never happened.
Okay.
So we had a lot of free time when we were waiting for the channel to happen. So I decided rather than roaming about here and there. Let me just work on something. Let me work on a screenplay. So this essentially began as a screenplay.
Okay.
So then somebody suggested, why don't you make it into a book first, because it'll make good reading. So this was converted into a book
Okay.
rather than a screenplay.
Okay. So during that time you were working on this as a screenplay. Now, why did you kind of choose this kind of subject specifically? Why this
Because
thing?
after this, essentially after my interaction with different musicians in Bande Matram and interacting with the youth, so I realized what they wanted, and this is partly also the research is a result of that, as well as my own experiences. And I wanted to test the waters, if I could become an author, if I could write. So I took this as a challenge and converted the screenplay. Unfortunately, the film journey didn't begin. So
Okay.
nowadays I make mostly ad films and corporate films. So yeah, I know no one knows the future. See, I'm a very unplanned, erratic guy, 1 minute I'll be doing this, the other minute I'll be doing that. So there's no, because I get bored easily of doing one thing. So I like challenges. I like doing different things. I like presently I'm not writing so much. I'm editing content for a digital marketing agency, which is almost like a full-time job. I'm working as the national creative head of a show which is supposed to come on national television.
Okay.
So because that is what you can't tie yourself down to a structure. No creative professional should follow a set routine or do something which is like monotonous. That's when it hampers creativity, when you stick to a particular routine. So one day I'll be doing this, second day I might not feel, of course you must meet your deadlines, otherwise you won't
right.
get paid.
Right.
But but in a badha dhora chalk or routine, that 9 to 5 thing, so you have to challenge your creativity. And
Okay.
if you keep on doing the same thing, you really don't get anywhere. So unless you do something radical or you do something which is challenging, you don't grow as a creative professional. You might be growing monetarily, but that's not the objective. The objective is to be better than what you were yesterday. You're only as they say in football, you're only as good as your last goal. So
Okay. So don't you think just when we are talking about routines, so I am just kind of to I personally like to think that routines work, and obviously we can agree to disagree on this, because I personally am a person, if I don't have routines, my schedule is going to go haywire.
you did not interpret the thing. What I meant by routine is if you're doing the same thing day on and week after week,
the
and
grind of
the
it.
grind.
Fair.
So
No, makes sense.
The same thing.
Correct.
It becomes similar to a job, right? So
right.
it's like a dog running after a car. The dog doesn't know why it's running after the car. Similarly, we also running after money. We don't know why we are running after money.
Okay.
So any sort of work should make you happy. So this is just a thing which I follow. Like, I can't keep on doing the same thing again and again and again every day, every week. So if I have to do something different
Okay.
to sharpen, like you sharpen a pencil, right?
Okay.
It's like that.
So tell
That's
me.
my take. That's completely my take. I might be wrong. There's no set method.
No. Obviously. So I did want to kind of delve a bit more into this book a bit. You told me most probably the 365 Krishna stories took you 1.5 months. How long did your first book take you?
See,
Novel.
this was more of a thing where it went a lot of, the editor had comments and all. So I think I spent around, because this was my debut novel, so I think I spent 2 years, because then it was left on the back burner. I was doing something else, then I came back to it. And 365 Krishna stories, it's just released. It's part of a mythology project which was commissioned by the publisher. So it has 365 Krishna stories, 365 tales of Shiva, Ganesha, it also has the Bhagavad Gita, 365 tales of Hanuman. So it's an entire series of mythology which is coming up. So this is in a sense different from this book, because this is more of a novel, while this is work commissioned by the publisher. But
Okay.
this is also pretty interesting because it takes you into Indian mythology, and you have to research from the Puranas, and so it's very enlightening. So this is what I'm talking about when I say by doing something different. Both these books are essentially different.
Right.
So so that's what I meant.
Right. So I
Just
will.
like music,
Yes.
music has
Yeah.
different genres, right? So if a person keeps on doing pop, if a musician keeps on doing pop, and then so a complete musician is someone who has expertise in maybe blues and folk and rock, say a drummer or a guitar player who can play all forms of music. So that's how it is the same.
Okay. So I will get into the 365 Krishna stories. I'll get into that because I have a lot of questions regarding that. I'm very interested because obviously, for the obvious reasons, the people who know me, I'm absolutely
See, it's like an ocean,
absolutely, because
So better not
I
to
have,
go too much into the ocean, otherwise we'll drown.
Yeah, because
The flute, for example, Krishna's connection with the flute, right? So there are different aspects to it. The most common story about Krishna's flute is that when Krishna was born, right? So Lord Shiva wanted to visit him and went to visit him because all the gods had visited him, and Krishna, Lord Shiva, being a huge devotee of Lord Vishnu, wanted to meet his incarnation on earth.
Okay.
So Lord Shiva being I'll just say Shiva being forgetful, he landed on earth and he was walking. He saw the other gods carrying gifts for Krishna.
Okay.
So he said, "Oh, I forgot to carry a gift for Krishna. How can I go without a gift?" Then he saw all the material gifts and all the weapons or whatever the other gods were giving him. So he said, "I have to give Krishna something very unique. So what should I gift him?" Then he saw the bones of this sage called Dadichi, who sacrificed his body for the god so that weapons could be fashioned out of his bones. So Shiva said, Dadichi's bones have been used to make weapons like Indra's thunderbolt and all. But how about if I make a musical instrument out of Dadichi's bones, which will be everlasting, and gift it to Krishna, which will be synonymous with Krishna. So incidentally, Shiva also made Lord Vishnu's Sudarshan Chakra. So Shiva, there's this musical aspect to Shiva, as you will be aware, of the Tandava, and so it is Lord Shiva who designed Krishna's flute out of Dadichi's bone and gifted it to baby Krishna.
Okay.
So there's music everywhere, even the gods do music,
Absolutely.
In fact, in the ancient days, it was perceived that for ordinary mortals to reach God, music was the link or the... So musicians were considered divine.
Okay. So, regarding this book itself, so just a bit of, what I'll just kind of say on this. That is anything and everything regarding Krishna. Whenever I'll just show you this, that, just if my viewers know it, but just for your reference. So, you're at Krishna's pier, you're talking with Krishna Das, and I have 365 Krishna stories, and above that we have the Krishna shrine. So everything here is about Krishna, so I am very grateful, and that's actually struck me when we kind of were talking that it's I'll say it काकतालीय ব্যাপারটা আমি ঠিক জানি না, but even to kind of think about it, that person like you who has written a book like this, to this is kind of my journey, in a different way. Obviously, most probably this was commissioned to you or something, but I feel that always there's
It's
a
got my
divine.
name on it too.
Obviously.
So that feels good, anything related to the divine which has your name on it.
So I think they have. I was seeing you kind of talking about the blurb, and I'll just kind of read it for kind of my audience. That it says that this fantastic collection of 365 carefully handpicked stories present the wonderful leelas of Krishna, of one of the most beloved gods of all Hindus. The easy flow of words and the brilliant illustrations bring to life Krishna in all his glory. Now Kaya comes. Abhi, drang, in his inimitable style, Swayam Ganguly retells one enchanting story after another: Krishna's miraculous birth, his endearing childhood as cowherd, as Makhan Chor, as the slayer of various demons, as the guiding light in the Mahabharata war, as providing divine wisdom through the Bhagavad Gita. Lord Krishna's many exemplary qualities like kindness, bravery, righteousness, unconditional love, among others, inspire young readers. 365 Krishna Stories is an absolutely prized possession for the young and grown-ups too. So I'll just show this. If this is okay, this is the camera. So just see how beautiful this actually looks. This is. I was actually talking to him that I'll get a Kindle now. After kind of holding this, I do feel it any Krishna lovers should kind of go and get this. It's
open it.
Yeah. So I'll just show it. It's so beautiful. Okay. If you see the pictures here, I think Radha Krishna hai yahan pe. The year of there is that the contents, man, so many things are there, and I think
so the why 365? The thing is
why
that 365 days in a year. So one story for each day. That is the concept of this book.
So I'll just show if you look, I think I do have kind of here वहाँ पे रहेगा कि नहीं मुझको पता नहीं है. I do have some kind of I have like some books that
there were many things which I didn't know about. Like I didn't know about this interesting incident that you have to know Krishna. Most of us don't know Krishna. Most of us are not aware that Krishna himself is Vishnu, right? And he's the preserver of the universe. Okay, so there was this thing like there are many unexplained acts of Krishna which are beyond our grasp or understanding. They are so supreme. Like there are instances of Krishna saving a injured dog and nursing him back to health, being a whatever prince or whatever. And there's this thing like there's this instance when the women were bathing in the river. Krishna stole his clothes. Now that is always perceived as in a wrong way by ordinary people or mortals. Even I used to think the same. But when I did my research, there was this pratha or tradition of those women walking naked to the temple and praying to God after their dip in the river was over. Now Krishna didn't like this practice. He felt that it was unnecessary. And he didn't like the fact that naked women were parading, and he didn't believe in all this idolatry and so he stole their clothes and made them promise to stop this practice of worshipping an idol by going naked from the river. So there's a lot of depth in Krishna which you have to study to understand.
So I'll just say something here. Kind of when we are even looking into the Leelas, okay, we have to understand now. I'm not very aware before even having this conversation. Let me ask you. Are you religious? Are you spiritual? Do you have any kind of...
See, I believe in God.
Okay.
That's all I'll say. Because...
Okay.
So another thing is that many people say, why Krishna didn't marry Radha and there was no person... No, listen to me. Hear me out.
Okay.
And there is no Radha. The Puranas don't mention Radha. What they have to realize is, from my limited understanding of having read the Puranas and the holy books, that Radha and Krishna are essentially the same person. Krishna is Radha and Radha is Krishna. Radha is basically the feminine side of Krishna. Right? So what? He was ahead of his times. He believed in women's lib those days. So, it's beautiful because, Radha says, why don't you marry me? So Krishna turns around and says, wait. And then he turns around again. Radha sees Krishna is Radha. So he said, how can I marry myself? You are me. You are part of me. So even if there was no Radha, Radha was Krishna and Krishna was Radha. So unless you read, it's all there in our holy books. You just have to. So I wouldn't have normally read it, but because I had to work on this project, I had to read those things. And I'm glad this happened so I could, have an opportunity to do my research and read our ancient scriptures.
I don't think I'll get to kind of discuss these things on this show later with anyone, because all my kind of guests will be kind of talking about different other things. But I'm so glad that we have you here and you have kind of done a book on Krishna
So
stories.
even in love films and rock and roll, there's mention of Krishna, because the musician's girlfriend, who's the vocalist of the band, is called Radha. And there was this song which I had written in Bangalore when we were trying to make inroads into music but abandoned our plans, and this song was Krishna Got the Blues, which is mentioned in love film and rock and roll. This is basically we tried to do a blues number with Krishna. It goes like, Krishna grew up in Gokul City, played a lot of pranks and had a lot of fun. His uncle was evil, which was a pity, was the only one between Krishna and the throne. Radha was the prettiest chick around, the one Krishna did choose. They were the best pair to be found, but even Krishna got the blues. So
Oh man, that's kick ass. That's super.
Yeah.
I'll ask you something.
So it's just fun.
Right.
So
Nahi,
life should be fun. Music is fun. So just go
absolutely. I keep telling my team this, that the moment anything creative stops to be fun, na, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah. The moment anything creative turns out to be, some guy tells you, ये ऐसे नहीं होगा, इसको ऐसे कर दो, ये तो बजट नहीं है, ये अच्छा नहीं लग रहा है, इसको चेंज करके यहाँ पे काचा बादाम लगा दो. So that's when with all due respect to kacha badam, but that's when
Man, he performed in some places. Any comment?
No, no comment, because now what he should do is he should match up to his standards. Okay, now if he's doing kacha badam, then he can't be driving his car into all say, "Ami amar gaadi bhidiye diyesi." Now I can do that, I can write stuff like that, but that is not music, right? With all due respect,
okay.
I can do I can do it instantly. আজকে আমি গেছিলাম বান্ধবীর বাড়ি ও পড়েছিল লাল লাল শাড়ি. That's music requires thought. You require thought to write lyrics and compose.
So I think what we did is that as a kind of
just edit this out. I might get into
I'm
trouble.
not going to. This is going to be your story. Sorry.
So after kacha badam they'll bhaja mach. আমরা আজকে সকালে মনে করছিলাম পুলিশ কিনে নিলাম 1 কিলো ইলিশ. So this viral thing, what, anybody is doing anything. Music requires proper study, writing lyrics, composing it, practice. Today bands like Cactus, Lokhi Chhada, Fossils, they've not become bands because of they rehearse, they practice. But what I really love is folk music, so I hope somebody, Fakira has been doing it. I haven't been following the scene now. But folk is essentially where our culture is, So
right.
we should experiment with folk, like Kon Phulata Chris, something like that, which has to be blended with the modern sound,
So what kind of music are you listening to now?
See,
What do you listen to
I
now?
was listening to a lot of Jhumur recently.
Jhumur.
Krishna Koli Islam.
Krishna Koli is what is?
Krishna Koli Islam is
okay.
basically a Bangladeshi artist.
Okay.
So she's more into Jhumur,
Okay.
So I really like that. I like nowadays. As I'm growing older, I'm liking that. Matir Gan and Kon Phulete Krishna Ache Kon Phulete Radha. So it's really I'm liking that thing. I like that.
Kindly send me
because
those
I can't
links
do that.
you're kind of been listening to.
Yeah, I listened to a lot of folk music earlier, but I really like the folk music of Bengal because I can't do that, right? But I really love listening to that.
Okay.
Because I was out of Bengal for a lot of years, so আমার ভাল লাগে শুনতে. আমার ওই ফোকের সাথে একটা কানেকশন আছে.
একটা প্রশ্ন করব শামদা, যে ধরো you are part of television, you are part of this creative way. You did have a screenplay in this book itself. Why didn't you kind of turn it into a film directed by you?
Unfortunately, the Bangla movie industry was going through a bad phase, and this is more of a what I thought was this was justified if it was made into a Hindi film or a English film. So then again, for many reasons that didn't happen. Because I got into other things.
Because that time is most probably
the time was not. and the band scene also was dying. So it was like that.
But ideally, I'll just obviously, I understand your kind of
Like there are American folk bands like Steel Eye Span, which have taken those their traditional folk music and blended it with modern instruments. So I wish we could also do something like that. Take traditional songs, folk songs like say Nodi Bora Dheu and make a blues version or a rock version. So fusion, I think, should be the new sound of Bengal, and that'll be fun, right?
So yes, absolutely.
Listening to a rock version of Nodi Bora Dheu.
I think there is one, I was kind of listening to some guy from Bangladesh, because I keep kind of, in my free time, I kind of search random shit out from Bangladesh. I'm very inquisitive about what's happening Opar Bangla, because I have an idea.
So Krishna, you must listen to Krishna Koli Islam, because I...
Namtai bhayankar.
No, but she's really good. And I like...
নিশ্চয়ই শুনো তুমি আমার কৃষ্ণ ওকে আফটার দিস শো আইল কাইন্ড অফ শিওরলি চেক আরেকটু কাইন্ড অফ ডিটেলস একটু আসছি যে কাইন্ড অফ
see, why was Bob Dylan so popular? Because Bob Dylan, that folk thing and that modern thing, he blended it so beautifully.
आपका लेफ्ट में देखिए एक बार तीनों बुक्स है बॉब डिलन का लेफ्ट में.
अच्छा,
ठीक है. So Dylan has.
So have you heard this band called which featured Bob Dylan, George Harrison, Tom Petty, Roy Orbison?
What's the name of the band?
They brought out 2 albums. All the musical greats were there. It's called the Traveling Wilburys.
Okay.
Volume 1, Volume 2.
Okay.
So you must listen to that. George Harrison. So these 5 guys did a project called the Traveling Wilburys.
Okay.
So really good.
Great. I'll surely
So music, I'm saying, it's like an ocean. So every day you discover new artists, and I have tremendous respect for musicians. I've worked with so many musicians, and
and we have seen so many musicians very closely, because if you're producing a show or kind of directing a show like that, you'll be up close to whatever is going on, because that is something that is going to obviously.
And it's really fun hanging out with musicians because you learn a lot, right? You don't know so many technical things, and because you're only so unfortunately because of time constraints, you don't get to meet. Because you work mostly in isolation these days, so you don't meet musicians. But it's always an enriching experience when you hang out with musicians and you interact with them. Probably because of that thing that music didn't happen, so
No, music obviously. See, dekhiye, I'll tell you, I'll give you an example. This is our 9th episode, I think. On my 7th episode, I have a person who was on the show who was a musician previously, but he is into other form of art right now, a kind of tattooing and everything. So most probably क्या होता है ना, art will always be there, even if you are
in any form.
You are an artist ना. क्या होता है कि even if an author I don't know if I can kind of put it in the artist form. Obviously those every कुछ creative तो होगा ही. तो I think that is very important to have that, not to kind of sell out to the. Obviously, we need money. We need that. I have a kind of day job, and this I do, once on my weekend, after kind of yesterday, yes, I was starting from 7, I ended at 4. I went to sleep most probably at 4 a.m. in the morning, so crazy. But that will take a toll on you, obviously, sometimes. But what I'm saying is that jo bhi hai, in any form, we have to keep that kind of going on. That is.
So also, it's very important that you do whatever with whatever you have.
Yeah.
Right. Like I remember this interesting incident in Bangalore. So I was working for Television 18 then, and I was part of the Amul India show. So there was a story we were doing.
Okay.
So there was this World Music Festival happening in Bangalore, where musicians from all over the world had assembled, and the Dalai Lama was the chief guest there. So met the Dalai Lama for a brief moment, whatever.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
what happened was later was more interesting. So all the camera crews and they were making a beeline and taking stories from the person with the most interesting instrument. Okay. So my cameraman was urging me on. This was probably my second job. I was in my 20s, right?
Okay.
So I was entertainment correspondent, and I see this African guy standing alone without any instrument. So I said, hang on, we'll grab a musician. I say to my camera guy, let me just figure out this guy, because I'm very curious. Like this guy is huge and he doesn't have any instrument, right? So I went to him and I said, excuse me, what instrument do you have? So he points to a tree. I said, I didn't get you. He said, come on, I'll show you. So he goes and then he asks the tree for permission if he can play the tree. Then he
Okay.
moves on to another tree.
Okay.
Then he moves on to another tree and this one has agreed.
Okay.
And then, I was stunned, man. And I was in my 20s. I haven't seen something like this. So he goes up to the tree, climbs the tree, and then he starts playing the tree like a percussion. And actually, music
Okay.
is happening. So that was something which was mind blowing. I mean, I've never seen something like that.
Okay.
So I said, this guy also doesn't have any instrument, man. He's like me, but he's playing music, right? So even this is music,
Correct. Right.
right?
Right. Absolutely.
So the basic thing is to respect all forms of music. Like I meet a lot of rockers who look down upon hip hop. That's not music, right? So I didn't know hip hop. We used to dance to hip hop. So I saw this movie called Brown Sugar, right, which explained the history of hip hop, the culture behind hip hop. It was then I understood what hip hop is all about. So to like something and respect it and be passionate about it, you have to understand the roots, right? Like how music originated from the slaves.
Right.
Like unless you're beaten and unless the music won't come out, man. Unless your back is against the wall.
Hip hop, I'll just I'm sorry to interrupt here. I'll just tell you about a bit about how I do perceive hip hop as. So obviously, we were part of Bande Mataram, as you know. Uske baad I was part of MTV. Both are rock competitions. And after that, after I was very, what should I say, lucky enough to meet people who opened my mind regarding music. And if you have you heard of Dr. Dre?
Yeah.
So the
Dr. Dre, don't just stand there, operate. Now, I've heard hip hop. It's just that it's not on my
hip hop is a different,
top of the list.
Right now,
I know, man. I know.
Yeah.
Grab the Glocks when you see Tupac. Call the cops when you see Tupac. But it's not essentially the part of culture which I grew up in a rock culture.
Right.
So I can relate to rock, blues, but I cannot listen to hip hop because I haven't grown up in hip hop times, right?
Absolutely.
But I listen to it. I can sing it, So I love the music.
Right. So hip hop is something I feel that
it's an extension of rap, no?
Rap is there. Hip hop is almost a culture. क्या होता है कि what I feel is I myself and very few people know this because I don't know. It's like coming out of the closet most probably, but I myself consider myself more of a hip hop producer or a person.
I like the stuff which EPR has done. It's like revolutionary.
That's more of rap, EPR, whatever.
He does a lot of hip hop as well. Right?
And our last guest, I'll be, people will see what we are doing. I'm more into EDM, hip hop, and all these things, but the rock roots are there. So I'm very much influenced by Dr. Dre and the discipline that these guys have. No? It's a vision, and the brotherhood is very similar. I was having yesterday someone from the metal community. If you are aware, these guys were having a good metal community in the Bangla scene at a point of time. And similarly, every form of music will have those communities on, and that might be hip hop, that might be metal, that might be folk, and it's just the more we I think grow as people, the less prejudices we have, I think.
Right.
क्या
You have
होता
to
है ना
respect all forms of music.
because शुरुआत में तो मैं भी हिप हॉप क्या कर रहा है यार भाई ये नहीं क्या ये ढिंचक
That's what you have to understand the culture.
Right. So then you understand what is it signifies and all these things, and so I think it's a journey. It's a huge journey.
It's about education, right? Like
Right. Right.
If someone listens to Bengali songs, slowly it's catching on, right? Fossils is so popular now, so they've actually made this thing popular. So that's what there is to it. Like
Right.
you have to understand first. Unless you explore, unless you read,
Right.
unless you know.
Talking about reading, let's kind of talk. I have got like 14 kind
Yeah,
of
so you should read a little
questions.
bit.
Yeah, but I'm just asking you, okay, reading, regarding reading, what do you read? What kind of stuff do you read?
See, I read all kinds of stuff. I mean, I try to read a little bit before I go to bed. It doesn't happen all the time because work keeps me busy.
Okay.
So I was reading Babar Nama, the autobiography of Babar.
Okay.
That's halfway done. I read a lot of William Dalrymple because I'm very
The
interested.
travel thing, right?
No. William Dalrymple is historical.
Okay.
Like
okay.
so, his last novel was
Okay.
so a lot of interesting stuff about history. So
Okay.
I read. I've stopped reading in Hindi. There was a time I used to read in 3 languages: English, Hindi, and Bengali. So a little bit of Bengali now, a little bit of English. So I try to read half an hour, 1 hour before I hit the bed.
Two
But that-
things. Swayam, I'll just sorry to kind of cut you off. 2 things. What is your first language?
First language.
Bengali or Hindi?
No, I didn't study Bengali in school because
Okay.
I grew up in Jamshedpur. So
Achha, you're from Jamshedpur.
yeah. So my mother taught
acha.
me Bengali. So thanks to her,
Oh, acha, acha.
I have never lost touch with
Okay,
Bangla
okay.
Sahitya.
So I was kind of thinking on that level. And secondly, I think we skipped this thing, which is very, very important.
Sure.
Obviously, we're not going to ask you for your career transition, but just to kind of give us a gist, how did you reach to where you are? The kind of you were kind of mentioning you were a correspondent somewhere on this and that. So, थोड़ा अगर आपका जो chronologically अगर बताते
See,
आपका
I
journey.
basically started my career in Bangalore,
Okay.
where I was. My first job was with a was making with a concern which made ad films,
Uh-huh.
and then from there I worked in Television 18.
Okay.
And I had a small stint in Lintas.
Okay.
And then after that I moved to Bombay, where I worked with UTV on a project, and
Okay.
then I was with Z Bombay for a while, and then I had to come back to Kolkata.
Okay.
So when I came back to Kolkata, because my parents were here and my brother was moving outside India, so then I joined Shongit Bangla.
Acha, acha.
So I was there for a long time. Then I was after a 4-year stint in Shongit Bangla, I went to Channel 8, and from there. So after that I did a lot of freelance work, and then I was with Z Bangla Cinema for 4 years,
Okay.
and then I decided to do my own thing. And finally I'm doing my own thing.
Okay. Have you ever thought about, again, I'm just pushing this most probably on you. It's not absolutely fair, but, we as, I don't know, I have expectations from the people I actually, think who do great work. So, have you ever thought about kind of directing a film, ever getting into film direction ever?
Yeah, of course, but the right time and the right opportunity is not there yet. So, because see, the thing is that I'm trying to, make a mark by making ad films first, and doing a lot of writing stuff. So basically, when you do your own thing, you have to earn a certain amount of money, right?
Right.
So that it matches the salary that you left behind.
Makes sense.
So once one is sorted, then one can think about that.
Because I have a lot of kind of friends from FTI. I did a kind of short course from FTI.
So because of
in
the
sound
Corona thing,
recording.
everything got jumbled, in the past 2 years.
Right.
Now things are slowly opening up and everything.
Okay.
So we'll wait and see. Let's just go with the
Sure.
flow.
Sure.
No plans as of now, but we'll go with the flow.
Great. No, what I was saying is that I do have some friends in some film schools. I do see, how the obviously, this profession where creativity, creativity, when we make it our profession, it is, I think, वहाँ पे getting on the, up, how should I, like getting on top of the ladder.
There's
If you
no
can-
top of the ladder.
Yeah, so corporate ladder जैसे हम लोग का जैसे होता है कि ठीक है, assistant manager से manager बन
There's
गया.
no top of the ladder
हाँ,
really. It's
so-
only a monetary growth,
Yeah,
which is
so-
also very piddly.
Yeah, and quarantine had hit the industry.
So there are these new things which I'm discovering, which I never knew that were possible. So I'm still exploring the universe, Like I tied up with a digital marketing agency out of Delhi,
Achha.
and I've been editing their website content. So that's a huge amount of work,
Okay.
and it's a lucrative proposition for me. 4 hours of work every day, 5 hours of work. So there are lots of things which are opening up. Newer avenues are opening up, which are not existent in Kolkata. So most of my clients are in Delhi and Bombay. So a lot of Instagram writing is coming. So I'm just trying to see what I'm capable of right now, you know. Because
Okay.
newer things have opened up because of the lockdown and, you know. So just seeing which one works for me best, and then what I'm happy doing. Like 4-5 things. What am I happy doing the most? I'll do that, and, you know, what I'm not happy, I'll set it aside.
Super.
Like if it's something to do with music, I'm always in, right? More than the money,
Great,
because
great.
music, anything which you're passionate about, you do, right?
Great. I'll just ask you one thing. In that case, did you do music videos also when you were in Shongit Bangla?
yeah.
Did you-
Not when I was in Shongit Bangla.
Acha,
I've
okay.
done because see, music videos when Shongit Bangla happened, right? Earlier than that, there was no platform to showcase music videos.
Right.
So being a part of Shongit Bangla, I really couldn't make videos, right? Because
Uh-huh.
I was employed there.
Right.
So then after that, there's no platform. Now there's YouTube and everything.
Uh-huh.
But nobody spends a lot of money on music videos now, right? So that is how it is. And bands normally make their own music videos.
Abhi to it's kind of जैसे you know.
I made that music video for Bande Mataram 2 theme song with Ishan and Prithvi.
Oh, वो वाला you directed that one. That's super. That's actually one of my favorites. Actually, it's those days are for us, any musician who has been part
See,
of
I'll
that.
tell you something.
Uh-huh.
Even if you are a musician, right?
Right.
So you have to hone, like Rupam Islam. He's such a great writer, right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, his lyrics are awesome. So he's honed that skill, right? So I am also honing my skills to try and do something like that. Because he writes very fluidly. So my language is English, right? So this thing is different. So just like that, I'm just taking the music comparison here. Like a songwriter a guitar player has to brush up on his guitar skills and be better and explore different genres. That's why you'll see a lot of musicians who, doing both kind of stuff.
Okay.
Like Gabu, for example, he can play in any band, right? He's a versatile drummer. He can
Right.
play in a blues band, he can play in a jazz band, he can play in a rock band, right? So versatility is important when it comes to writing, also when it comes to doing any creative kind of work.
I'll ask you something, Shainda. So this is a part we knew about your. We kind of got to know about your journey. We are obviously very excited about. I'm super excited about 365 Krishna stories. So
The journey is still continuing, man. Like Aerosmith said, life is a journey, not a destination.
So we would, what I'll do is that, in this part, we are already kind of hitting the 1 hour mark. And I think for the first time, I'm not, if you're okay with it, I'm not going to take
See, why I said Rupam Islam?
Ah.
Because his writing skill is exemplary, right? When it comes to
Acha.
songs. Okay.
Okay.
So, so he set a benchmark when it comes to writing. I'm not even getting into vocals and musicianship. The basic is the song has to be written first, right? So he set such a high level that for others it's difficult to match up.
नहीं
to
आप
that
बांग्लादेश नहीं सुनते क्या?
नहीं, बांग्लादेश सुनते हैं. मैं
अच्छा.
यहाँ का बात कर रहा
अच्छा,
हूँ. बांग्लादेश
okay,
तो सुनते ही हैं.
8 सेल सुने हैं आप?
हाँ, 8 सेल सुने हैं. हाँ, मैं वो नहीं
So let's kind of talk about Lincoln sometimes on
Okay, sure.
this. So अब Lincoln का गाना सुनिएगा तो I think we'll have a better
नहीं,
conversation
आपने
on
वॉटसन ब्रदर्स सुना है? अभी शायद डिफंक्ट हो गया.
Watson में तो बाबा रे अनेक हाँ
So
तो
Bangladesh, there was
right.
always a culture there, right? But यहाँ पे, I mean,
makes sense
हाँ.
makes sense.
So all I'm saying is that मैं यहाँ की बात करूँ, like बांग्लादेश को नहीं ला रहा हूँ. But Bangladesh, I told you about what I like listening to now. See, when you
Yeah,
get
yeah.
older, right, too much
हाँ.
of noise also gets on your this thing, na? So
Right.
you want so I was listening to Krishna Koli Islam and I got blown away.
I need to first of all, that name to has stuck with
That's
me.
why I said it.
Krishna Koli Islam. I have to figure out what that is first.
So even in
Yeah.
Bangladesh, where
हाँ.
their faith is different,
हाँ.
they are singing songs. So that is why Krishna is so universal.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
it is not about Hindu. It is not about.
Correct,
God
correct.
is for everyone. That's why it's so great to be in
Right.
Kolkata, where
हाँ.
Christmas is celebrated with equal fervor, like Eid or Janmashtami, or I believe we are the most secular state in the world.
Right. So I'll ask you some questions which I do with all my guests, and I'll be kind of bombard you. You might
Rapid
call
fire.
रैपिड फायर नहीं बोल सकते हैं, because it would most probably take you a bit of a while to answer it, but it would be a specific pattern question. I don't think I have, because this kind of was scheduled in a very short notice. I generally kind of mail it
So
or
we
my.
can't take a break, no? Now?
We can take a break.
Let's take a break now. and
Let's
then
take.
do
We are almost at. Okay, let's do one thing. We are almost at 1 hour 50. Basically, we are at 53 minutes something. So I generally take a break around 30 minutes. We were having a good conversation. I did not want to stop it, but I'm not going to get a push from that much. Let's take a break. He's kind of doing this. I'm going to take a break, and once we are back, we'll know more. So guys, we'll kind of get to know more about what kind of Swayam has kind of his pattern, his thinking, and everything. We'll kind of do that. Okay, we are going on a small break and coming back ASAP. Thank you.